It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Bucks finishing up their series for the regular season, and the magic number for the Dodgers is maintained at 7. For the Dodgers, despite losing last night, they've won 18 of the last 24, but the Pirates are giving them a bad time. Going back to last year, the Pirates have beaten the Dodgers 9 out of 12. They're also particularly tough against the Western Division. Pittsburgh's record, 22-6 against the Western Division. And another note, the Pirates winning by 1 run last night. They are 33-17 in one-run games, and they maintain a 1-game edge over the Cubs for home field advantage. And one other note, when you're talking about Pittsburgh, you're sure to mention Andrew McCutchen. Well, in the last 9 games, the center fielder is hitting .441 against the Dodgers. On the mound for Pittsburgh, Garrett Cole, local boy from Newport Beach, went to school at UCLA. He is 16-8, no record against the Dodgers this year, and he is 2-0 lifetime. By the way, he's very tough on California teams. He is 8-2 against the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres. For Mike Bolsinger and the Dodgers, a record of 6-3 and no record against Pittsburgh. So those are some of the pregame notes. Pull up a chair, relax, spend some time with us for a good ball game and a whole lot more right after this. Maybe. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. Final game of the 3-game series between the Dodgers and the Pirates. Both clubs, of course, very much interested in home field advantage in the postseason. The Dodgers right now with 2 games in front of the New York Mets, and for the Pirates, they are 1 game in front of the Chicago Cubs. So for both teams, a very important ball game. For the Dodgers, trying to keep it rolling, awaiting the arrival of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who will be here for a 4-game series starting tomorrow night. And for the Bucks, trying to stay within the state of California. For the Dodgers, with Mike Bolsinger going up against Garrett Cole, the Dodgers trying to turn things around because the Pirates have beaten them 4 of the 5 meetings this year and 9 of the 13. One slight optimistic note for the Dodgers as far as the magic number, which is 7. The fact that the Arizona Diamondbacks surprisingly have beaten San Francisco 11 of 18, and they have shut out the Giants 2 games in a row. In fact, how about this note? Arizona has shut out the Giants 5 of the 9 games played at AT&T Park. And the Dodgers taking advantage of that, having won 85 games. They're 8.5 in front of the Giants, trying to reduce the magic number at least to 6, maybe even 5. That remains to be seen. So the Dodgers take the field on a warm Sunday afternoon. We'll use the word warm instead of hot. And we'll also take a look at Clint Hurdle's card. And it lines up this way. Gregory Polanco in right field. Starling Marte in left. Andrew McCutchen in center. Aramis Ramirez at third. Neil Walker at second. Francisco Cervelli behind the plate. Pedro Alvarez at first base. Jordy Mercer at short. And Garrett Cole on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Mike Bolsinger, big right-hander out of McKinney, Texas. Mike stands about 6'2", 210, and he's been around long enough to celebrate 30 years on this earth. This will be his 19th start. His biggest problem was the last time he started back on the 12th against Arizona. So just about 8 days between starts. You got to figure he will not be as sharp as he would like to be. For the Bucks, they've won 88 ball games, and they are dynamite against the Western Division. They are 22-6 against the Dodgers and everybody else in the West. The Dodgers with the leather behind Mike Bolsinger. They shape up this way. It'll be Van Slyke at first, as Adrian has a day off. Van Slyke and Utley, Seager and Guerrero. Justin Turner has the sore knee. The outfield, Crawford, Peterson, and Ethier. Yasmani Grandal puts on the gear behind the plate, and Bolsinger is on the mound. Gregory Polanco coming up. Polanco made a huge play last night. He hadn't done much with the bat, but in the 8th inning last night, he doubled and scored a run. But the big play in the bottom of the 8th inning, he made a great catch in right field on a ball hit by Justin Ruggiano. So Polanco checking in, hitting .256. He's just 1 for 8, left-hand batter. And ready to check in, followed by Marte and McCutchen. Bolsinger with a slow stance, now goes to the windup. Right-hander ready and delivers, and it's in for a strike. And the count 0-1. Waiting on deck, Starling Marte. Polanco 1 for 4 last night. Had a big double and scored what turned out to be the winning run. Strike one pitch on the way very high. The temperature here at Dodger Stadium and throughout the downtown area, 97 degrees. So I'm sure out in the valley it's triple digits. Down here hardly a breath of air. So Bolsinger, working from the first base side of the rubber, has a very tough assignment. The right-hander's 1-1 pitch is promptly banged to center. Peterson coming up to make the catch. So Gregory Polanco lines out to center, 1 down, and the batter will be Starling Marte. One thing the Dodgers have been able to do, pretty much keep Marte off the bases. He was 0 for 3 last night. They did give him an intentional walk. He had one single in game one. So he is 1 for 7. And of course, the problem with Marte, if he gets aboard, he'll run you right out of the ballpark. He has 98 stolen bases in his career, and he has 27 stolen bases this year. So Bolsinger ready. The right hand hitting Marte takes an off speed breaking ball low. 1 ball and no strikes. Marte with Andrew McCutchen waiting on deck. If you're a Dodger pitcher, it seems like McCutchen is always ready to hit. Fastball is swung on and missed. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Garrett Cole on the mound for Pittsburgh, their ace. He is 16-8. And the Dodgers saw a terrific game turned in by Francisco Lariano last night. High twisting foul ball down the right field line back into the stands. Van Slyke over to take a look, but that's about all. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Though Van Slyke moving back to first. Scotty had a cyst on his hand that prevented him from gripping the bat, but he's back in the starting lineup, giving Adrian Gonzalez a chance to rest. Bolsinger technically on an 8-day rest, which is a long time for any pitcher. 1-2 pitch on the way is taken low. Check swing, no swing. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bolsinger on 4 days rest is 3-1. On 5 days rest, 1-2. 6 days rest, 2-0. I don't think he's ever pitched on 8 days rest, so it's a very tough assignment. Mike Bolsinger was 1-6 with Arizona. Ground ball up the middle. Seager to his left, up with it nicely, gets it to first easily, and Marte just jogging down the line, and we have 2 out. Here comes Andrew McCutchen. In the last 9 games against the Dodgers, McCutchen is hitting .441. And as far as RBIs are concerned, Nolan Arenado leads at 114. Paul Goldschmidt of Arizona 100. Matt Kemp 97. McCutchen, Bryant, and Harper all have 95. So McCutchen wearing the Dodgers out of late. Bolsinger ready and delivers, and the first pitch a little high, ball 1. Andrew from Florida and hitting a solid .298. He had 96 RBIs a couple of years ago. Swings, fouls it back. 1-1 the count. Last night McCutchen lined out, doubled, grounded out. They walked him intentionally, and he had a leadoff double and 4 at bats in the first game. One ball and 1 strike. Bolsinger ready. Back he comes, missing low. Ball 2, 2-1. For Andrew McCutchen facing Bolsinger. Andrew hitting .332 at home, .263 on the road. Dodgers load up the left side of the infield. The 2-1 pitch on the way. Off speed, swung on and missed, and they count 2-2. For Mike Bolsinger, I'm sure he remembers making a debut wearing the Arizona uniform, pitching here at Dodger Stadium. His mom and dad were here, and his mom couldn't sit in the seat. She walked on the second level all through the game. Pitch low and away. 3-2 the count. Mike started off the year with the Dodgers 5-3. Did a great job when they really needed him. Then when they acquired Alex Wood and Matt Latos, they sent Bolsinger back to Oklahoma City. 6-3 is his record as he looks in with 2 down, bases empty, and ready to make a 3-2 pitch to Andrew McCutchen, and that's taken way inside, ball 4. So 2 out, the walk to McCutchen, and that will bring up Aramis Ramirez. Bolsinger just missing on a 3-2 pitch. It took a hitter of the stature of McCutchen not to swing at that. It was so close. So the 2-out walk. And here's Ramirez. Ramirez last night doubled in his last at bat. It was a key double to drive in what turned out to be the winning run. Bolsinger takes a look over to see where McCutchen is. McCutchen takes a good lead in the first pitch in for a strike. McCutchen has stolen 9 bases. Pirates like to run. As a team, they have stolen 90. Out of a stretch goes Bolsinger. The next pitch high and away, and a 1-ball 1-strike count. Arizona here tomorrow night for a 4-game series. Dodgers then go out on their last regular season road trip to Colorado and San Francisco, and then the final weekend of the regular season here against San Diego. 1-1 pitch on the way. Breaking ball in for a strike, and the count 1-2. Bolsinger has done well, holding right-hand batters to a .223 batting average. He has given up 5 home runs, none to left-handers. Mike Reddy, 1-2 pitch over the top, fouled away. So it's still 1-2. Aramis Ramirez put up huge numbers in a great career. Now finishing up slowly but surely here with Pittsburgh. Ramirez waiting. Bolsinger taking his time, backs off the rubber. McCutchen goes back to the bag. Bolsinger again looking over his left shoulder at McCutchen. The 1-2 pitch coming up to Aramis Ramirez. Swung on, line drive, base hit to left field. Stopping at second is McCutchen, and the batter will be the very dangerous Neil Walker. So Walker, switch hitter, batting left-handed. Last night Walker did not start. He did get into the ball game and grounded out as a pinch hitter. In game 1, he had a home run and a single. So Neil Walker at the plate. 2 on, 2 out, first inning, no score. Dodgers trying to move third baseman Guerrero far off the bag and far away. They're not loading up the right side, but the infield is really swung around towards first. So Walker checking in, hitting .270. Bolsinger delivers, big slow breaking ball for a strike, and the count 0-1. Neil Walker, 14 home runs, all 14 hit left-handed. No balls and 1 strike, the count. Bolsinger ready, back he comes, in on the hand, swung on and missed. And Walker in a hole now, no balls, 2 strikes. Dangerous hitter, first inning, 2 on, 2 out. Bolsinger from the first base side of the rubber. Mike hands together, goes to his stretch. Quick check of the runners. The pitch to Walker is swung on and missed off speed, and Neil way out in front of it. So no runs, 1 hit plus a walk, 2 left at the end of half an inning. It's the Pirates nothing and the Dodgers coming up. brings up a point. Mike Bolsinger, with 2 out and a runner in scoring position, is holding the opposition to a 176 batting average. And with that, we'll take a look at Don Mattingly's card to see the lineup going up against the Bucks. Carl Crawford returns to the starting lineup in left field. Chase Utley back at second base. Corey Seager hitting third and playing short. Andre Ethier hits cleanup in right. Then you have Dasmani Grandal behind the plate. Scott Van Slyke at first. Jock Peterson bats seventh in center. Alex Guerrero at third, and Mike Bolsinger. On the mound for the Bucks, their ace, and that would be Garrett Cole, born in Newport Beach, went to school at UCLA, and was a first-round pick by the Pirates. Interesting note about Cole, he was the first high school player to be a first-round pick in 7 years who did not sign a professional contract. He didn't think he was ready, so he went off to UCLA instead. Well, it's worked out very well for Garrett as he works on Crawford with the 1-0 pitch on the way, and that snap foul off to the left out of play, and the count 1-1. So Crawford healthy, back in the lineup, hitting .264, and of course if his wheels or his legs are sound, always a threat to steal. He is .479 in his career. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Cole turns, delivers, and a drive to right. Going back on the ball as Polanco reaches up, can't make the play, and it bounces all the way back towards the infield. So Crawford is flying on his way with a stand-up triple. So Carl Crawford begins the day with his second triple of the year. And the Dodgers have a runner at third and nobody out. Long drive to right field. Polanco, who made a great running catch last night, could not get close to this one. It went past him right at the bullpen gate and then rolled back towards the infield. That gave Crawford the extra base to give him a triple. For Carl Crawford, 122 triples in his career. He's the active leader, believe it or not, in that department. So now you have Utley, Seager, and Ethier trying to pick him up. Cole's fastball very high, ball 1-0. Garrett Cole, a force for the Pirates, facing Utley, who's hitting .217. Utley, 178 times hit by the pitch. 7 home runs, 35 runs batted in. Cole comes back off speed and away. For Garrett Cole with a runner at third, that's a problem. He has 7 wild pitches. His record in the daytime is brilliant. 7 wins and 1 loss. Crawford with the infield back. Utley trying to pick him up. 2-0 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled away off third. A very light breeze, a very welcome breeze, rippling the flag, blowing from left to right. Boy, that has to be truly appreciated by the good folks in the right field pavilion. 2-1 the count. Just a trace of a cloud in dead center field over the mountains. Otherwise, a complete canopy of blue. Utley fouls it away, and the count remains 2-2. Pittsburgh, a very different ball club. First of all, if you go to PNC Park, players glide in on electric-powered scooters. Not because they're lazy. It is such a long walk from the parking lot, so they actually put them on wheels. 2-2 the count to Chase Utley. Cole ready, snaps it low and inside, ball 3-2. Then if you walk into the Pirate clubhouse, next thing you know, hours before a game, players walk around in black compression shirts affixed with blinking fitness monitoring devices over their chest. They look like something out of the Terminator. 3-2 the count. The pitch to Utley is swung on and missed. So Utley unable to pick up Crawford and strikes out. And now Corey Seager checking in. Good pitch down and in. Slider. Utley fooled. Pitch wound up in the dirt. So 1 out, runner at third. Now the left side of the infield comes up, and the right side is halfway. Alvarez and Walker on the right, Mercer and Ramirez up on the left. Corey Seager trying to pick up Crawford and get the Dodgers on the board. The first pitch, a fastball high, ball 1, 1-0. Corey hitting .389, made 14 starts, and he's reached base in every one of them. 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in. Crawford down the line from third. The 1-0 pitch is fouled away. There has been a terrible cloud over the Dodgers all year long. That's their inability to get a man home from third with less than 2 out. They're only 50%, which is not good at all. So we'll see. They're tested again. Crawford triples. Utley strikes out. Cole now on a 1-1 pitch coming up to Corey Seager. He looks, and that's low. Ball 2, 2-1 the count. Garrett Cole, one of his heroes growing up, Roger Clemens. Garrett is 6'4", a good 235 pounds. Right-hander set at the belt, looks over at Crawford, and now Seager backs out. You have to go back to 2001. There was a photograph that ran in the Newark Star-Ledger. I'll tell you, it was a picture of an 11-year-old. The 2-1 pitch. Seager swings and misses 2-2. The 11-year-old was Garrett Cole at the World Series. He was holding a big sign that read, "Yankee fan today, tomorrow, and forever." His father, growing up in the New York area, was a big Yankees fan, so I'm sure that's a collector's piece for the Garrett Cole family. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed, and down goes Seager. So the Dodgers have Crawford triple, only to have Utley and Seager strike out. And with 2 down, they leave it up to Andre Ethier. So Seager joins the club as Cole runs a fastball on the inside part of the plate to take care of him. Cole's fastball has actually been clocked as high as 102, but I don't think that's been recently. Right-hander ready. Ethier looks, and it's off the plate, ball 1. So he has that blistering fastball. He has a 2-seam sinker, and that's been clocked as high as 95. He has a slider that gets up to about 90, curveball, and a changeup. That sinker is rated an 80 on the 20 to 80 scouting scale. The next pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Up north at AT&T Park, Jeremy Hellickson 9-9 for Arizona. Tim Hudson for the Giants 7-8. They're scoreless in the second inning. Cole set. Garrett ready, in the 1-1 pitch taken a little low, ball 2. Yasmani Grandal, the switch hitting catcher, on deck. No score, bottom of the first inning. The Bucks left runners at first and second. The Dodgers have a leadoff triple by Crawford, and they're yet to cash him in. 2-1 the count to Andre Ethier. Garrett Cole ready. Right-handed delivers, swung on and missed. Good fastball, and the count runs up to 2-2, and that fastball clocked at 97. The very first time that Cole pitched professionally at Double-A, the lights blew out in the ballpark, and in his next outing he was probably hit in the neck by a line drive, but he overcame the blackout and the injury, and here he is. 2-2 pitch to Andre Ethier, swung on and foul back. With a runner at third, they've loaded up the right side. That means Ramirez all alone on the left. So Cole throwing very hard. When he struck out Seager, he hit 98, and he's hit 97 with Andre Ethier. Dodgers have won 50 at home, and the Bucks have won 50 at home. 2-2 the count to Andre Ethier. Cole set, right-hander ready. Here he comes, and it's whacked into right center for a base hit. The run scores. So the Dodgers finally pick up a runner at third with less than 2 out, and it's Andre Ethier who gets the job done. So the Dodgers leading 1-0. Pitch up on Ethier, and he just slapped that thing to center. Last night the Dodgers scored in the first inning, but it wasn't enough, and they did leave a runner at third back in the 7th inning last night. The Dodgers also scored in the first inning of Game 1. So here now is Grandal with Ethier at first, and the pitch to Grandal, fastball high, ball 1, 1-0. Dodgers 1 run, 2 hits. Pirates no runs, 1 hit. We'll be checking the Giants, and we'll also try to keep track of what the Cubs are doing as well. The 1-0 pitch on the way is swung on and missed. Remember, the Pirates have a 1-game edge on the Cubs for home field advantage. They're the 2 wild cards. The Dodgers have a 2-game edge on the New York Mets, so we'll watch them if we can. 1 ball and 1 strike to Grandal. Cole ready. Garrett delivers. Swung on and missed. Boy, he's got a fastball working. That one 96. We can tell you they're in the 7th inning in Chicago. Cardinals 4 and the Cubs 2. That would be good news for the Pirates. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Cole throws to first. Ethier back to the bag. Pirates are well rounded. They've won 50 at home. They're also 3 games above 500 on the road, and they've whacked the Western Division 22-6. The Dodgers have won 50 at home, but they're 4 games under on the road. Off speed pitch away, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Against the Central Division, the Dodgers are 1 game above 500. So Mattingly sees his club do what it has not been able to do, pick up a runner from third with less than 2 outs. And they lead 1-0. There goes Ethier. However, Grandal swings and misses, and Cole winds up striking out the side. But not before Ethier's single cashed in Crawford, who triples. And at the end of an inning, it's the Dodgers 1 and the Pirates 0. Will receive a Dodger sleeve blanket presented by SoCal Honda dealers that looks remarkably like the team's road uniform. And for tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Second inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Mike Bolsinger getting ready to pitch to Francisco Cervelli, the catcher, then Pedro Alvarez and Jordy Mercer. Since I saw so much of Sandy Koufax, in fact, I was fortunate enough to be there the day that Sandy tried out for the Dodgers. Here's the pitch to Cervelli. That's low, ball one. People are always asking me to compare Sandy Koufax and Clayton Kershaw. You can't compare them. Totally different left-handers, totally different way of pitching in the sense Kershaw pitches every fifth day. Sandy pitched every fourth day. The 1-0 pitch inside, ball two. But to really sum it up, let me give you a note. On this day, back 54 years ago, Sandy Koufax pitched a 13-inning complete game. He struck out 15. Dodgers won the game 3-2. And here's the footnote. The pitch to Cervelli is a flare to center. Going to be trouble, and it will drop in front of Peterson for a base hit. On that day that Sandy Koufax beat the Cubs and pitched 13-inning complete game, he made, are you ready? 205 pitches. 205. So no, you can't compare the pitchers today with those fellas. Cervelli, meanwhile, gets the flare single, and Pedro Alvarez coming up. I mean, you look today, Bolsinger made 22 pitches in the first inning. Cole made 25. And you're already thinking, boy, that made a lot of pitches. All right, Bolsinger working to the left hand, hitting Pedro Alvarez, and the pitch is low, ball one. Alvarez appeared as a pinch hitter last night, grounded out to second, started the first game, went 0 for 4, so he's 0 for 5 in the series. Here comes Bolsinger, change, and that drops in nicely. Boy, that took a while to get up there at about 70 miles an hour. 1-0 Dodgers, second inning, each side with 2 hits. Garrett Cole wound up striking out the side, but he gave up a triple and a single. 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on a one-hopper to Utley. He drops it, recovers, picks it up late, throws, and gets his man Alvarez. It was a double play ball, but Chase couldn't handle it. Alvarez, a big man, and they nail him at first. We'll see now, looking at the Pirate dugout, as if they might want to review it. Utley fighting that thing to death. Luckily playing second base, and got it there. Bang, bang play at first, and it looks like the Pirates will not ask for a review. So Alvarez is out, but the big thing, Dodgers missed the double play. Tying run is at second base with 1 out. And the batter is Jordy Mercer. Mercer coming off a good night last night. He had 2 base hits and a walk, but he was also picked off first base. Mercer playing for the injured Jung Ho Gong, who broke his leg while playing against the Cubs. They were playing super with Gong, and of course Mercer, a big pair of shoes to fill. Holds up on a pitch low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jordy, right-hand hitter and waiting. Bolsinger looks down the barrel to get a sign. Now the 1-1 pitch coming up. That's taken on the inside corner for a strike. Dodgers 1, Pirates nothing. Top of the second inning. Pirates left runners at first and second in the first. They have a runner at second with 1 out here in the second. Cervelli taking his lead. Bolsinger looks back at him. Now the pitch to Mercer, fouled. Pitch down and away. He just did get a little bit of it. Jordy Mercer is from a little town in Oklahoma, Taloga. Town of about 299. They're very exact. He's a big fella, 6'3", 200-pounder. I'm sure a lot of people felt too big to play shortstop, but here he is. One ball and 2 strikes. Mercer ready. Here comes Bollinger inside, almost hit him with a fastball, and the count 2-2. Garrett Cole on deck. Cole tuning up left-handed swing. Bolsinger ready. Breeze has picked up to right field, and the next pitch down and away, chased and missed, and that'll do it for Mercer. So Bolsinger picks up his second strikeout. Cervelli holding on at second base. Inning should be over. And here is Cole, right-hand batter, but loosening up. He likes to take left-handed swings. Cole waiting. Out of his stretches, Bolsinger then thinks better of it. Backs off the rubber, and now just as quickly gets back on. 1-0 Dodgers, second inning. Francisco Cervelli at second base, and the pitch to Garrett Cole in for a strike. Cole has 8 hits, including 1 run batted in. Strikes out about half the time. And probably it's a line drive knocked down by Bolsinger, who picks it up, grounds it towards Van Slyke. Here comes the tying run, and Van Slyke's throw winds up in the grandstand just to the right of the Dodger dugout. Honest Injun. Bolsinger, I think, thinks he caught the line drive, and then it flew out of his glove. He then tried to shovel it to Van Slyke. That didn't work. And then Van Slyke sails it into the grandstand. We want to see if Bolsinger is all right. The timeout. So a line drive by Garrett Cole. He winds up at third. Cervelli winds up in the dugout, and we have a 1-1 tie. Take another look. Ball hit hard off the glove. Bolsinger reacted as if he caught it. Then he whirled around and picked it up, tried to shovel it, and threw a ground ball by Van Slyke. And Van Slyke, for good measure, sailed it into the grandstands. So help me. The big concern right now is Mike Bolsinger, to see if he's okay. The reason it was such a bad feed to Van Slyke, apparently, it was his gloved hand. I mean, it wasn't that the ball hit his bare hand, struck him in the glove, but then he couldn't make the throw. So Mattingly talking to Bolsinger. We have a 1-1 tie here in the second inning. Dodgers won game 1 of the series 6-2. Bucks came back last night and won 3-2. And we're tied up 1-1 in the second inning here. Bolsinger looks like he's going to try to throw. So they're going to let him take a toss or two, see if he's okay. They're going to let him, I think, throw again. You have a runner at third. They have not flashed error, but of course Van Slyke's throw that wound up in the grandstand, you know that's an error. We're not sure about the ball that got away from Bolsinger. They have 2 errors up for the Dodgers, so I assume Bolsinger will get one, and then Van Slyke for sure. So Cole is all the way to third base. 2 errors. Game is tied up, and now the leadoff man, Gregory Polanco, checking in. Oh boy, that was a nasty play for the Dodgers. 1-1 tie in the second. Cole down the line from third. Bolsinger, who hasn't pitched in 8 days, on the mound. Bolsinger, by the way, has 4 wild pitches. So the right-hander delivers high to Gregory Polanco. 1 ball and no strikes. Cole short lead at third. Guerrero playing in on the grass. Polanco 6'4", and the 1-0 pitch outside, ball 2, 2-0 to count. Polanco takes big strides, and he'll put a lot of pressure on anybody on the infield. I love, we mentioned it a couple of times, a scout who first saw him described him as a sick giraffe. Now they say he's a healthy gazelle. So a big difference for Gregory Polanco. Young fella out of the Dominican. Signed by the Bucks 15 years ago. Waiting on deck, Starling Marte. Here's the 2-1 pitch to Polanco. Swung on, fly ball to left field, coming in and over and making the one-hand catch is Crawford, and that's the inning. But what an inning it was. For the Bucks, they get a run on a hit, 2 Dodger errors, a man left at third, the pitcher shaken up, and at the end of an inning and a half, a 1-1 tie. Viva Los Doyers. They'll be fun for the entire family. It all starts at 2 o'clock. Brought to you by Coca-Cola, Time Warner Cable, and State Farm. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/Viva. Bottom of the second inning, we have a 1-1 tie in the heat at Dodger Stadium. The game was 97 degrees when the Dodgers took the field. Hopefully, folks wearing hats, hydrating throughout the game, applying sunblock. I hope. In the second inning, 1 run, 2 hits for each side, but 2 errors by the Dodgers. And a wise mother opening up an umbrella to make sure that 2 youngsters are in the shade. So wherever you are, just a reminder, be careful. Don't let the sun eat you up. All kinds of chapeaus here today. Even a soggy little face cloth on top of the head feels good. Cardboard cartons with a hole wedged in them, either to shade the face or actually worn on top of the head. You could take some rather interesting photos on a day like today at Dodger Stadium. And with the 97 here, we understand it's triple digits in the San Fernando Valley. Meanwhile, the players, well, they played in every possible condition, and it'll be Scott Van Slyke, followed by Jock Peterson, and then Alex Guerrero. Garrett Cole deals, fastball on the corner. In the first inning, Cole had problems because he was behind 1 ball and no strikes to each hitter, and yet he struck out the side but surrendered a run. He gets a strike to Van Slyke. 0-2 the count is, Scotty. Garrett Cole, 6'4", 235, reminds people a lot of Roger Clemens. He comes back with a fastball that really takes off, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cole checking, feet together. 16-game winner comes back, and it is swung on and missed. And the count 1-2. So that does it for Scott Van Slyke, and the batter now will be Jock Peterson. So 4 strikeouts. That's what Cole has for the 4 outs. And with 1 out in the second inning, here's Jock Peterson. So Utley, Seager, Grandal went down in the first, and now Van Slyke here. Garrett Cole, however, has struck out 180 some odd coming into the game. And his first pitch missing, ball 1, 1-0. And we've got some Pirate fans out there in the sun, bless their little hearts. A chopper just foul outside of first. So Peterson waiting with Guerrero on deck. The Yankees pitched Garrett in the first round in 2008, and he opted not to sign. Instead, he went to UCLA, spent 3 years pitching for the Bruins, helped them getting into the College World Series. 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on, fouled off, 1-2. The interesting thing about Garrett Cole, when you look it up, you say, oh, he went to UCLA. I bet he had a great record. And the answer is no, he didn't have a great record. But they must have really admired his stuff. His record in college, 21 victories, 20 losses. There's the 1-2 pitch to Grandal, fouled away. Cole coming into the game had 183 strikeouts, 42 walks, so better than 4-1. Right-hander ready, and his 1-2 pitch on the way. Line drive, just fair, down the right field line. Over to pick it up is Polanco. Holding on at first with a bullet is Jock Peterson. Boy, was that thing crushed. And just fair. Kerwin Danley, the first base umpire, really had to get out of the way of that thing. So Jock Peterson, a 1-out single to right. Nice play by Polanco to hold it to a single. Boy, the fellow sitting on the chair down in right field to retrieve foul balls, he really had to move. And holding on to the chair. Yes, sir. Nice move. So a 1-out single. Here's Alex Guerrero. Justin Turner started the game last night. Had a double, but noticed he limped and he came out of the game. Guerrero batted for him, stayed in the game. Went 0 for 2. Then Ethier batted for him in the 9th inning. Cole out of a stretch. 1-1 tie, second inning. Guerrero has a look, and the pitch is low, ball 1, 1-0. Now Mike Bolsinger is not in the on-deck circle. In fact, there is no one in the on-deck circle, and that's against the rules. You got to get a guy out there. And now here comes Bolsinger. The 1-0 pitch on the way. There goes the runner. It is swung on and missed. Bad throw on a hop, and Peterson steals second. Savelli short on the throw, and for Jock Peterson, picking up a valuable stolen base. Peterson has stolen 4, but he's been caught 7 times because he has the requirement. Good stolen base, and against Garrett Cole, that figures. The league runs on him. Ground ball just fair over third and down the line. Here comes Peterson to score easily into second base with a slide, and out at second is Guerrero. So Guerrero doubles in the run, and a great throw by Starlin Marte in left field and nail him. Wonderful defensive play by the Pirate left fielder. So Guerrero a single to left to cash in Peterson, and then he's cut down 7-4. So 2 down, a run in. Dodgers lead 2-1, and Mike Bolsinger coming up. Boy, Marte, a one-hopper. Beautiful throw right at the bag. So Cole appreciating a strong throw by his left fielder. And now Mike Bolsinger taking his turn at the plate, takes a strike. So Jock Peterson able to steal. That's the difference. 2-1 Dodgers. Bolsinger looks at a pitch off the plate. 1-1. When the inning ended, top of the second, Bolsinger went right through the dugout back to the dressing room. We're not sure exactly what happened to him because the ball hit back so hard, hit his gloved hand. And yet, after he shoveled it poorly to Van Slyke, the inning stopped and he was allowed to practice a couple. So I'm not quite sure how he hurt himself. Pitched down and away. He wouldn't need a couple of tosses if it was the gloved hand. 3-1 the count to Mike Bolsinger. Cole feet together on the rubber. Dodgers lead 2-1. Cole comes back. Fastball at the knees for a strike. And his fastball 95 and up. Garrett Cole, at first name Gerrit. One of his all-time favorite players, the great Lou Gehrig. Well, certainly he's not old enough to have seen Lou Gehrig, but it is a great name and a great story. Here's a 3-2 pitch coming up. Cole delivers at his strike 3 call. That's the inning. That gives him 5 strikeouts in 2 innings, but the Dodgers get a run. And at the end of 2, it's Dodgers 2, Pirates 1. Baby was covered. Well, the baby's got some water anyway. Take a look at the Dodger calendar coming up. Right around the corner, a 4-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Then the Dodgers will go out on the road to Colorado. They have 4 with the Giants, and they'll be coming home to finish up with San Diego. The Dodgers have pounded Arizona. They've beaten them 11 out of 15. So they figured to try and take advantage of the Diamondbacks during that 4-game series and even close out the magic number, which is 7 right now. That reminds us about the Giants. Nothing to report yet. We'll double check up there. No score, 4th inning. That's Tim Hudson and Jeremy Hellickson. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 2 hits for the Bucks. Starlin Marte is up there and takes ball 1-0. Marte has been quiet, kept off the bases. For the Dodgers, that's the plan, because he does have a bunch of stolen bases, 27. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-1 the count. Marte making that great throw to Neil Guerrero at second base. He has 15 outfield assists. That leads the National League. Right behind him is Gregory Polanco, who has 10. The 1-1 pitch is taken low, ball 2. 2-1 the count to Starling Marte. The Bucks began the day 4 games behind the Cardinals. Here's the 2-1 pitch coming up. Bolsinger delivers, and a high fly ball. No doubt about that one. That is way back, more than halfway up the pavilion in deep left center field. So the Dodgers get a run, the Pirates get one. Dodgers get a run, Pirates get a run. And we're 2-2 in the 3rd inning. For Marte, a bomb. That's his 17th home run, 71 runs batted in. So after keeping him very quiet in the first 2 games, a hanging breaking ball is buried in the pavilion. So we have a 2-2 tie, and the batter is Andrew McCutchen. McCutchen walked in the 1st inning. Bolsinger into the windup and delivers, and the pitch down and away. The home run was no doubt. In fact, Crawford just turned not to go back on the ball, just to see how far it would go. The 1-0 pitch inside, ball 2. The big aisleway, which is a good halfway up, and the ball landed in the aisle way up there. Here's the 2-0 pitch on the way to McCutchen, and that's way inside again. So McCutchen walked in the 1st inning. Bolsinger's behind 3-0 with him now. Ramirez waiting on deck. Bolsinger into the windup. 3-0 pitch, and he drops it in for a strike, and the count 3-1. McCutchen with Aramis Ramirez waiting on deck. And the 3-1 pitch swung on and missed. A staggering swing by McCutchen. McCutchen is wearing the old stockings with the gold rings around them. Of course, most of the players you can't tell because they let the bottom part of the pants go all the way down to the ankles. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the way. McCutchen fouls it away. So Andrew is still there. We mentioned the story the other night. His philosophy of hitting was told to him by his dad when he was about 3 years old. Father drew an imitation home plate on the ground in the dirt and then said, "That's the house. Your mom's in there, your dad's in there, your younger sister's in there. Protect the house." The 3-2 pitch is inside for ball 4. So McCutchen has walked twice, and the batter will be Aramis Ramirez.
17, Aramis Ramirez.
So McCutchen walking to first base. 2-2, top of the 3rd. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Pirates. A game-tying home run by Marte, and a leadoff triple by Carl Crawford in the 1st inning that led to a run. Ramirez singled to left in the 1st inning. The Bucks had 1st and 2nd with 2 out. But Neil Walker struck out. Now Ramirez takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Ramirez, big right-hand batter, looks down the line. He has to look a long way. Rick Sofield, the 3rd base coach, is way beyond 3rd base. Throw to first, and McCutchen diving back to the bag. McCutchen has 9 stolen bases. Rick Sofield trying to get out of the way, understandably so, for Aramis Ramirez. Bolsinger out of a stretch, a look at first, now to the plate. Little dribbler going foul up along 3rd. Aramis Ramirez has had some big years in the National League. He has hit as many as 38 home runs in his heyday with the Cubs. He had 1 year where he had 38 home runs and 119 runs batted in. Of course, he's been playing a while. He's 37 years old. With 385 home runs in his career, he's in the top 10 of home run leaders at 3rd base, led by Mike Schmidt, who had 548 for the Phillies. Here's the strike 2 pitch coming up. Bolsinger delivers as a one-hopper. Short hop by Seager. They get 2. Whoa, what a play by Corey. A sinking line drive. And Seager just short hopped it, backhanded it, and started the double play. And Ramirez was out just about before he left the batter's box here to hit the ball that hard. So 6-4-3. 2 down. And the batter will be Neil Walker. Boy, big leaguers can make tough plays look so easy. And Seager did just that. So Neil Walker, who struck out with 2 on in the first inning, coming up. We have a 2-2 tie here in the 3rd inning. Dodgers scored in the first. Bucks tied it in the top of the 2nd. Dodgers scored in the bottom of the 2nd. Bucks have tied it top of the 3rd. The pitch now to Neil Walker. Check swing foul off to the left. And the count 0-1. Checking to see any news on some of the interesting ball games. We told you that the Cubs were losing. The Cardinals beating them 4-2 in the 8th inning. That's very important for the Cubs and the Pirate battle for home field. Strike 1 pitch foul back. The Mets play tonight, so we can't tie them up with the Dodgers. But the Giants, with the magic number 7, they're at home with Arizona. Hard to believe Arizona has shut out the Giants 2 straight and 5 of the 9 games at AT&T. Next pitch is lifted down the right field line, but it's hooking foul and going well out of play. 0-2 the count. Dodgers are averaging 46,700 a game. Tickets sold would figure prominently today. Some folks figuring you get hammered sitting in the seats. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Dug out of the dirt. Randolph flips to first. That's the inning. So twice Walker has struck out. We had the home run by Marte, and then the Dodger double play started by Corey Seager on that sinking line drive hit by Ramirez. And the Dodgers got 2 easily. And at the end of 2.5, a 2-2 tie. Rolling around here at Dodger Stadium. Each time the Dodgers scored, the Bucks came right back. Carl Crawford opened up the game for the Dodgers with a triple. Line drive into right field. Polanco tried to catch it, couldn't do it. For Crawford, 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, and overall batting .269. Crawford, Utley, and Seager in that order. Crawford with 122 triples. Jose Reyes 117. He drives one to left center, picked off by Andrew McCutchen. So Crawford hits the ball hard but lines out. One away, and Chase Utley coming up.
Chase Utley.
Seems interesting to look down at the field, see McCutchen with those ringed stockings, and the only one showing the stockings. Boy, that brings back a lot of memories. They used to have rings around the caps as well. Cole's first pitch is strike. Meanwhile, all of the others, pants run all the way down over the ankles. No balls, one strike, like that. We're in the bottom of the third, 2-2 tie. Cole delivers inside. Well, they're in the fifth inning up north. Diamondbacks nothing, Giants nothing. Jeremy Hellickson and Tim Hudson in that one. One pitch, ground ball to first. Up with it there is Alvarez to the bag. That'll do it for Utley. And we have two down here in the third. Corey Seager coming up.
Number 5, Corey Seager.
Seager made that nice play on that shot hit by Aramis Ramirez and turned it easily into a double play. Corey hitting .382, 0 for 1 today. He was 0 for 3 with a walk last night. He had a home run in the first game, 1 for 4, and takes a strike. So he is 1 for 8 in the series. Cole turns. Garrett ready. Right-hander deals. Waved at by Seager. Obviously fooled on the pitch. And the count 0-2. Well, if you're going to be fooled by a pitcher, you got a pretty good one out there. 16-game winner, Garrett Cole. His strike 2 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled back. So the count stays 0-2. Garrett Cole, in looking at his baseball numbers, not necessarily numbers, just the way he pitches and when. He's very effective in the daytime. Long fly ball. McCutchen going to have to play it off the wall. And into second base with the stand-up double goes Corey Seager. So Seager hits one over Andrew's head. Doubles off the wall. Put that with Crawford's line drive, and they've hit him pretty hard. That was a breaking ball, and he got all of it. McCutchen going back. Then he's going to play it off the wall, and instead it kind of kangarooed over his head. By the way, that was a no ball, 2-strike count. So Cole lets him get off the hook, and now the batter is Andre Ethier. Couple of things about Cole. We mentioned earlier you can certainly run on him. 24 stolen bases against him, and then Peterson made it 25 in the second inning. 0-1 the count as Ethier comes up empty. During the daytime, Cole has really been tough. He has 7 wins and an earned run average of 1.8 in the daytime. He gets double plays. 22 turn behind him. The pitch to Ethier in there for a strike. Again in the high 90s. 0-2 to Andre, who singled to drive in Crawford in the first inning. Though he was burned 0-2 on Seager, we'll see what he does 0-2 to Andre Ethier. Cole out of a stretch. Back he comes. Ethier takes high. Interesting, 25 stolen bases against Cole. 18 of the 25 have come in the first 3 innings of a game. Earned run average 1.8 in the sunlight, so he's tough. Cole again set. And the 1-2 pitch to Ethier, waved at and missed. He was badly fooled. So that's 6 strikeouts for Garrett Cole in 3 innings. And at the end of 3, it's the Dodgers 2 and the Pirates 2. Since Ramon Martinez in 1990 to win 20 games in a season. At just 23 years old, Kershaw led the National League in wins, ERA, and strikeouts en route to his first Cy Young Award. We have a 2-2 tie as we go to the 4th inning. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Bucks. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Dodgers have 2 singles, a double, and a triple. And the Pirates have the home run by Starlin Marte. So Mike Bolsinger picking up a rare start today. 8 days since he last pitched. And it'll be Cervelli, Alvarez, and Mercer in that order. Mike ready, and here we go. The bunt, good bunt, charging, glove, thrown, and the out. So Alex Guerrero not trying to barehand it on the end run, use the glove. Cervelli, as the catcher, does not run quite that well anyway. So down he goes on the bunt attempt. First the glove, then the transfer, and he still threw him out by several feet. So 1 out. Big Pedro Alvarez checking in. Good play by Guerrero, playing for Justin Turner, out with a sore knee. Alvarez has walked a lot of late. Today he grounded out. Gone 4 for 15 with 7 walks in his last 7 games. That's a foul ball. 1-1 the count. We're in the 4th in a 2-2 tie. Arizona and the Giants scoreless. The magic number, remember, is 7. And a high drive into right center. That's another no doubt about it job. Halfway up into the pavilion. So the Pirates turn it around and take a 3-2 lead. It's the first time that Pittsburgh has led today, and it's their 2nd home run.
Number 10, Jordy Mercer.
So Alvarez hits it out. He now has 25 home runs, 72 runs batted in, got a breaking ball, and he just snapped at it with those hands and wrists. No doubt about it, home run. So the Bucks, for the first time, leading 3-2. They're building a little picket fence on the scoreboard. 1 run in each of the last 3 innings. And ground ball to Utley off the bat of Mercer. 2 down. Garrett Cole will be coming up, feeling a lot happier about things with a 3-2 lead.
Number 45,
back in the dugout, trying to cool off is Pedro Alvarez. And Cole putting on his batting gloves, making his way to the plate. He's the one who hit that shot back at Bolsinger. He got his glove on it. In fact, he thought he caught it. Then he realized he didn't catch it, rolled the ball to Van Slyke, who then hurriedly picked it up and threw the ball into the grandstand. That's a strike. That was all taking place in the second inning. Francisco Cervelli scored, and at the moment it tied up the game. 1-1. Big changeup. It's that old story. You rarely change up on a pitcher unless he's a pretty good hitter. Well, Garrett Cole is a merry old soul, and he has 8 hits to boot. 1-2. And that's foul upstairs off to the right. Garrett Cole, from his 51 to 100 pitches, has held the opposition to a 199 batting average. Well, he strikes out on a bad ball. However, the Bucks get a go-ahead run, and we'll see if Cole can maintain those great numbers. He has made 50 some odd pitches through 3, and the Bucks lead 3-2. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. Bottom of the 4th inning, it's 3-2 in favor of Pittsburgh. Kind of a seesaw game. Dodgers got a run in the first. Pirates tied it in the second. Dodgers got a run in the second. Pirates tied it in the third. Now, for the first time today, the Pirates take the lead on the home run by Pedro Alvarez. And going to the 4th inning, it'll be Grandal, Van Slyke, and Peterson against Garrett Cole. Hey, remember when they gave away the bottles of water with the spray? Well, there's all kinds of paraphernalia here today. Anything to help you cool off. It was 97 degrees when the game started. Smart lady. Grandal struck out in the first inning. Cole has struck out a half a dozen. Interesting, since Garrett Cole's debut back on 2013, he has won 37 games. Over that same stretch, Zach Greinke has won 47, and Clayton Kershaw 46, and then Madison Bumgarner 44. 1-0. Van Slyke on deck. 1-1. So he's in that stretch now, 51 to 100. And the league is hitting 199 during that stretch against Garrett Cole. Foul back. Well, the other note about Garrett Cole, which certainly could concern the Dodgers, when the Pirates score 3 runs or more, they've scored 3 today. Cole is 15-2. Foul ball out of play. We can tell you the Cubs got a run. They're trailing the Cardinals now 4-3 in the 9th inning. We understand the possible tying run. Anthony Rizzo was cut down at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ground ball wide of first. Alvarez hangs one for him, and Cole makes the play. So we have 1 away here in the 4th inning. Giants in Arizona locked in. No score in that game, and we'll repeat the fact that the New York Mets play the Yankees tonight. So they do not figure today as far as the Dodgers and home field advantage. Here's Van Slyke. Scott struck out in the 2nd inning. And a little slider in there for a strike. 0-1. And 2. You go back to 1955 on this day. Willie Mays wrote his name in the books. He hit 2 home runs against the Pirates. That gave him 50. That's another strike. So Van Slyke strikes out a 2nd time. 7 strikeouts for Cole in 3 2/3 innings. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Carlos Frias begins to loosen up. Remember, Matt Latos designated for assignment. So that springs an opening for Frias. And we'll see whether he's just throwing or perhaps even getting ready to come into the game. Jock Peterson single, stole second, scored a run. 0-1 the count. Talking about Mays and a home run on this day in 1968. Mickey Mantle hit his last home run in the major leagues. Solo shot against Jim Lonborg of Boston. That's a towering foul ball, and it will be caught by the 3rd baseman Ramirez. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 4th inning. And at the end of 4, Pirates 3, Dodgers 2. Go behind the scenes as Hyun-Jin Ryu rehabs from season-ending shoulder surgery. Plus, the Dodgers give a special honor to longtime coach John Shoemaker here at Dodger Stadium. So don't miss Backstage Dodgers Thursday at 7 on Sportsnet LA. Well, we have a good one working here tonight, 3-2 in favor of Pittsburgh, with Polanco, Marte, and McCutchen top of the order going after Mike Bolsinger. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Bucks, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Pirates have 2 home runs by Marte and Alvarez, and the Dodgers had the first at-bat triple by Carl Crawford. Drag bunt, it is by the mound, picked up by Bolsinger, but no play. So Polanco, a perfectly executed drag bunt base hit. So the leadoff single after 2 pretty well hit balls, he decides to try his luck the other way. And once it got by Bolsinger, the play was over. So Polanco at first. Now you have Starlin Marte, who grounded out and homered, followed by Andrew McCutchen. Polanco, a definite threat to run. He has stolen 26 bases. So Bolsinger has his hands full right now off the rubber. They have a lot of speed up there, and now Rick Honeycutt is going to go out and talk to his pitcher. Yimi Garcia gets up in the Dodger bullpen. Garcia made 9 pitches in relief last night, but Honeycutt never brings a hook. He brings advice. We have a moment. We're talking about Mike Bolsinger pitching on 8 days rest. Matt Harvey for the Mets will go on 9, 10, 11 days rest tonight against the Yankees. As far as the inning count on Harvey, and that's certainly part of the story, Matt Harvey has made 171.2 innings pitched this year. There's been a big debate about whether he would pitch more than 180 in the Mets going into the playoffs. So he is well rested. A little roller wide of third. In fact, Seager has to make the play to first, and awfully close. Marte hustling down the line. So 1 out. Polanco at second base.
Center fielder Andrew McCutchen.
Well, they've walked McCutchen twice. McCutchen has 83 walks. Young Jock Peterson has 87. McCutchen dynamite with a runner in scoring position. On deck, Aramis Ramirez, and they are going to pitch to McCutchen. In there. McCutchen hitting .441 against the Dodgers in the last 9 games. Diamondbacks and the Giants, no score, 6th inning. Fastball missing. 1 ball and 1 strike to Andrew McCutchen. Bolsinger has given up 3 runs and 5 hits. Dodgers committing 2 errors behind him. In fact, he committed 1 of them. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-2. So McCutchen walking twice today. He walked once last night, went 1 for 3 with a double, and he went 1 for 4 with a double in game 1. Pirates wearing out the Dodgers. They've beaten them 9 out of 12 since last year. That's off the plate. They've also beaten the Dodgers 4 out of 5 this year. And Hurdle trying to have his club win number 89 today. 2-2. Boy, you look at Clint Hurdle. When he was 20 years old, he was really something. Clint Hurdle arrived in the big leagues 6 weeks after his 20th birthday. 6'4", 195, movie star looks. Homered in his second major league at bat. That's how he started. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated the next spring. 3-2. Fouled away. Of course, baseball linked 3 generations of hurdle men. His grandfather had a contract offer by Cincinnati, and his grandfather was 15 years old. Hurdle, by the way, is a licensed insurance agent in Florida. 3-2 the count to Andrew McCutchen. Way off the plate. So McCutchen walks a third time, and the batter will be Ramirez. 2 on, 1 out, 3-2 Pittsburgh in the 5th. Ramirez single to left and hit a hard sinking line drive that turned out to be a backhanded one hopper for Seager, who turned in the double play. Now Don Mattingly is going to the mound. That'll be that for Mike Bolsinger. For Ramirez, he is grounded into 20 double plays, so the Dodgers hoping to use him for an exit. So all things considered, Mike Bolsinger had not pitched in 8 days. He made 77 pitches, but he goes out losing 3-2 with runners at first and second and 1 out. We'll be right back.
Your attention, please. Now pitching for the Dodgers, number 63, Yimi Garcia.
First and second with 1 out here in the 5th inning. Discretion is indeed the better part of valor, but Mike Bolsinger, facing Andrew McCutchen, walked him 3 times, and now getting into trouble for the 3rd time with McCutchen. He had to come out. Yimi Garcia, who made 9 pitches in relief last night, will be facing Aramis Ramirez. 2 on, 1 out, 5th inning. Bucks leading 3-2. Up north, the Giants struggling offensively. They have 1 hit, and there's no score in that game. Hard to believe Arizona is trying to shut out the Giants 3 consecutive games at AT&T Park. So here's Ramirez. Dangerous with the long ball. 16 home runs, 71 runs batted in. Foul back, 0-1. Ramirez 16 and 71. The interesting about him, as Bolsinger sits and thinks about making a rare start, boy, that's tough to go about 8 days. 4 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs. 0-1. Slider hit foul down the right field line. 0-2 to the dangerous Aramis Ramirez. 1 for 2 today. 1 for 4, a double last night. 0 for 3 the game before. 2 hits and 9 at bats. Ramirez followed by Neil Walker, who has struck out twice. In the Dodger bullpen, J.P. Howell begins to warm up. Garcia's spot, he's due to bat second when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the 5th inning. 0-2. And there goes the runner on a base hit into left field. So scoring easily is Polanco. He was about ready to steal third, and the line drive single picks him up, and the Bucks take a 4-2 lead on the single by Ramirez, who's 2 for 3. So the hit is charged to Garcia. The run is charged to Bolsinger. Polanco just took off. He would have stolen third base. He had a big jump. Then he lost the ball momentarily, but Rick Schofield said keep on going. So 4-2 Pittsburgh. They have runners at first and second, still 1 out. Neil Walker has struck out twice in the first and again in the third. Fastball away. 1 ball and no strikes. Breeze has picked up a little bit. Flags riffling out there in center field. One ball and no strikes. One and one. In the inning, Polanco bunted for a base hit, took second as Marte grounded out. McCutchen walked, so that hooked the starting pitcher Mike Bolsinger. Brought in Garcia, who gives up the base hit to Ramirez, while Polanco was in the act of stealing third, so the run came home easily. And it's 4-2 Pittsburgh. Little foul out of play. So the Pirates trying to beat the Dodgers 5 out of 6 and 10 of the last 13. Clint Hurdle working on the gum. Garcia taking plenty of time. Now he's ready. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fastball fouled away. Still 1-2. The Pirates are on a California tour. They'll be heading, however, out of the state. Colorado and Cincinnati. Garcia very deliberate with 2 on and 1 out. We're in the 5th. 4-2 favor the Pirates. Pace of the game a little slower than normal. After all, it was 97 when the game started, and whoops, there goes McCutchen. The throw to third, and he is out from me to you. So Walker also out at the plate, and McCutchen is nailed to end the inning. However, Pirates get a run on 2 hits and a walk. And at the end of 4.5 innings, Pittsburgh 4, Dodgers 2. is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. The time is short, but the savings are big at Toyota's clearance countdown going on now. Pirates lead the Dodgers 4-2 as we go to the bottom of the fifth inning. Up north at AT&T Park, Alejandro Diaz just doubled home Angel Pagan. So the Giants take a 1-0 lead in the sixth inning. Cubs are losing 4-3. The Mets play tonight. The Dodgers now will have Guerrero, followed by Jimmy Rollins, and then Kyle Crawford. Alex single to left in the second inning, scoring Peterson, and he was cut down trying to get two on a perfect throw by Starlin Marte. Alex hitting .222. They're going to check no swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. And a broken bat. A one hopper at short for the out. And the third baseman, Aramis Ramirez, ran for his life. Ramirez out on the grass in left field, and it looked like the ball was following him, or I should say the bat, all the way as the ball went to the shortstop.
Hitting for the Dodgers, number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
That's dangerous, and watch Ramirez. I'm getting out of here. But meanwhile, the shortstop, Mercer, makes the play, and we have one down. Remember, we told you about Garrett Cole. When the Bucks get him 3 runs or more, and they've gotten him 4 today, he is 15-2. Jimmy Rollins batting for Yimi Garcia. So Garrett Cole a force to be determined with. 1-1. Cole has struck out 7. Gave up a run in the first inning, another in the second, and he has shut him down since. Fastball, pop foul, out of play. That gives us time to tell you the Cardinals held on and beat the Cubs 4-3. So the Bucks had a 1-game lead in the wild card for home field advantage, and should they hold on to the lead, it will be 2. So Hurdle in a pretty good spot right about now. The 1-2 pitch, 2-2. Rollins with Crawford on deck. Got him. So Rollins goes down. He becomes the 8th strikeout victim for Garrett Cole. By the way, earlier we mentioned, although we didn't know the details, we did know the Cubs got close 4-3, and we did know that the Cubs had the tying run cut down at the plate. That was in the 8th inning. It was Anthony Rizzo cut down on a strong throw by Jason Hayward in right field. Good breaking ball strike to Crawford, who tripled and lined out. So he's hit 2 balls right on the button. 0-1. Reaching for one, hits a fly ball. Right there is Marte, and that'll do it. So that's 7 in a row since Seager's 2-out double. And at the end of 5, it's 4-2 Pittsburgh. played at the Los Angeles Coliseum. The Dodgers won that game. They beat the Cubs 3-2, and appropriately enough, Sandy Koufax, the winning pitcher, striking out 15. And the last home run ever hit at the Coliseum was hit by catcher Norm Sherry, whose brother Larry was an MVP in the World Series. They made a great combination. And that was the end of the Coliseum for baseball and the beginning of Dodger Stadium the next year. Let's go back to this one. Four to 2 in favor of the Pirates. They'll have Francisco Cervelli facing Carlos Frias, who's been out for quite some time. And the Dodgers will take a look at him now. Frias' last game was in June. So you talk about being rusty. Facing Cervelli, who has singled and tried to bunt his way aboard in the first pitch of the backstop, ball one. That reminds me of a reliever with the Yankees who had quite an interesting major league career, Ryan Duran. Duran wore glasses that looked like the bottom of a Coca-Cola bottle. And he would warm up, and the last warm-up pitch he would throw up on the backstop for purpose. Line drive. Oh, what a pick at first base by Van Slyke. Wow, nice play. So Cervelli, a hard ground ball to Van Slyke, one away in the 6th inning. And Pedro Alvarez, who has grounded out and homered, coming up. So a fine save by Scott Van Slyke. Carlos Frias probably had to ask directions how to get to the mound, having not played since June the 30th. Last time he won a game was back on the 25th, and he was saved by Van Slyke on his first pitch. And that's going to be a bullet into right field for a base hit. Alvarez will hold. So the Dodgers bring in Frias. He hasn't fooled anybody. Hard ground ball out. Now line drive single. And Jordy Mercer coming up. The last time that Frias even pitched at all was in AAA on the 6th. Sean Rodriguez will run for Alvarez, and we assume he will then stay in the game and play first base. So Rodriguez at first, one out. Jordy Mercer the batter, and then the pitcher Garrett Cole. Ball one. So the Dodgers started Mike Bolsinger, who hadn't pitched in 8 days. Now they bring in Carlos Frias, hasn't pitched in a big league game since the 30th of June. 1 ball and no strikes. Rodriguez running over there has stolen 2 bases, 2 out of 4. We can also tell you Buster Posey has just hit a 3-run home run. The Giants now lead 4-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning against Arizona. So the so-called magic number is 7. The Giants are going to make sure it stays 7. Dodgers trying to come from behind and reduce it to 6. But they're up against the ace, Garrett Cole of the Pirates. 2 balls and no strikes. And big chopper in the hole, up with it Seager, back to second for 1, to first, not in time. So Force plays 6-4. And Garrett Cole, the pitcher, who is 0 for 2, coming up. Looking ahead, when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 6th, they'll have Utley, Seager, and Ethier. Cole hit a line drive off Mike Bolsinger's glove. Mike acted like he caught it, then realized it wasn't in his glove. Then tried to give the ball to Van Slyke and rolled it away from Scotty, who then picked it up and threw it in the grandstand behind home plate. So that was a shaky way for the Dodgers to give up a run in the second inning. Then last time up, Cole, who has struck out 8, struck out himself, which is quite a trick, isn't it? A shot up the middle, smothered by Utley on one knee, throws to first to get him. Wonderful play by Chase Utley, who never saw a ground ball he couldn't smother at least. And not only smothered, gets up and on his right knee fires to first just in time. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 5 1/2, 4-2 Pittsburgh.
In attendance will receive a Vince Scully bobblehead presented by Mercedes-Benz Dealers of Southern California. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions.
4-2 in favor of the Pirates. Good-natured crowd on hand despite the heat. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 5 hits. Dodgers have had a triple by Crawford and a double by Seager, and the Pirates have had home runs by Marte and Alvarez. Sean Rodriguez takes over at first base for Pedro Alvarez, and we go to the bottom of the 6th. Utley, Seager, and Ethier in that order. Get down to the last few days of the month of September. There's always notes. We've been dropping them in. Willie Mays hit 2 against the Bucks on this day. Mickey Mantle hit his last home run on this day in 1968. Bob Moose, who was a pitcher for the Pirates on this day back in 1969, pitched a no-hitter against the New York Mets. And perhaps one of the earth-shaking stories on this day in 1998, that's when Cal Ripken Jr. took himself out of the starting lineup and didn't play as the Baltimore Orioles lost to the Yankees. That ended a consecutive game streak for Ripken of 2,632 games. Can you imagine? After nearly 16 years, Ripken said he decided the time was right to end the streak. It began May 30th, 1982. So just a few random thoughts during the course of the ball game. But now let's see about Utley, Seager, and Ethier in the 6th inning. Utley has struck out, fouled out, made a fine play to get Jarrett Cole. Cervelli out to the mound to say something. Cole has struck out 8. He has not walked anybody in pursuit of his 17th win. Fastball in for a strike. He has that effortless slow windup and then zap. He hits you at 97 miles an hour. 0-1. And that's going to go foul, so Utley finds himself in a hole right away. No balls, 2 strikes. You see Jared Hall pitching, and you say to yourself, how in the world did he lose 20 games in college? His record was only 21-20. It shows you how smart the scouts are. Fastball. 1-2 to Chase. 78 pitches made. This is pretty much of a strong spot for him. From 51 to 100, the league is hitting 199. Fastball, but missed. Now, after 101 pitches, if he's still in there, he starts to really lose it. The league hitting 469 against him once he gets over 100. But he's only made 79 pitches right now. 4 runs, 7 hits for Pittsburgh, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Foul back. So the Pirates, since last year, have beaten the Dodgers 9 out of 13. They've beaten them this year 4 out of 5. Dodgers against the Central Division just 1 game above 500. The Hurdle wants to nail him one last time. 2-2. And a drive slightly to right center. McCutchen makes the catch. That ball really ripped, and McCutchen had a great jump and made it look easy. If he doesn't get a jump, he might or might not have caught it, but he made it look easy because he had such a great jump. I mean, he's gone. Andrew on the dead run picks it off, and we have 1 away. I've mentioned it before. Heck, I've mentioned everything before. But when I was a little kid sitting in the bleachers in the Polo Grounds, I learned a law that I never knew about. You'd sit in the bleachers. Somebody would swing and hit the ball. You would see the ball leave the bat, and then you would hear whack. And it really puzzled me. Little ground ball to Neil Walker. That'll do it for Seager. And I remember asking a gentleman in the bleachers, why is it I see the ball leaving the bat and then I hear crack? And he explained about the law of physics, sound and light, and the difference. So then from that day on, I never paid any attention to the line drive about how the outfielder at the crack of the bat got his jump. Because if it's the crack of the bat that gets you to move, you're not going to make the catch. Oh, there's one for you. Father and son. Yeah, spritz his youngster off a little bit. Change for a ball to Andre Ethier. 2 down. Four to 2 in favor of Pittsburgh. 2 out, bases empty. Dodgers have had 1 base runner since the 2nd inning, and that was a 2-out double by Corey Seager in the 3rd. Seager in the dugout has struck out, doubled, and grounded out. Ball 2. Andre singled in the 1st inning to cash in Carl Crawford. Gave the Dodgers a very temporary 1-0 lead. Two balls, 1 strike. Ball 3. Giants take that 4-0 lead over the Diamondbacks into the 7th inning. Buster Posey with that big 3-run home run to give them a comfortable cushion. 3-1 to Ethier. Check for a strike. Andre just kind of gazing off. There's nothing to look for. 3-2, nobody on base. 2 out. Got him. So wow, Ethier strikes out a 7th time. That's 9 strikeouts for Garrett Cole. 9. And at the end of 6, he walks off leading 4-2. By Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. Pirates lead the Dodgers 4-2 in the 7th inning. Dodgers led 1-0. Pirates tied it. Dodgers led 2-1. Pirates tied it. Pirates then went on to lead 3-2, 4-2, and now here they are in the 7th inning. Gregory Polanco lined out, flied out, and a drag bunt single, and eventually scored a run. Guerrero plays up on the grass. Van Slyke wide of the bag and a full swing foul. 0-1 to Gregory. Polanco, Marte, and McCutchen. Dodgers started with Bolsinger, then Yimi Garcia, and now Carlos Frias. Oh, 0-2 to Gregory Polanco. He's one of those players you like to see run. Meanwhile, Frias wants to see him walking back to the dugout. 0-2 the count. And a little foul out of play. Gregory at 6'4", a real daddy long legs kind of player. I think the ladies would say he's short waisted. All legs. In the old days, they give him the nickname High Pockets. Ground foul. Thing bangs off the protective railing in front of the Pirate dugout. That could have done damage. Boy, they have to be careful. Pay attention. 0-2. One and two to Gregory Polanco. Polanco made a great running catch last night. He's 6'4", about 220. Just turned 24 last Monday. Fouled away. He was a pitcher when he was an amateur playing in the Dominican Republic. He talks about how Fernando Tatis and Julio Lugo helped him have a big league attitude, how to dress, how to behave in the clubhouse. 1-2. And a pop fly into shallow right. Utley out and calling. And we have one away. One down, 7th inning, and here comes Starling Marte. Grounded to short, homered in the 3rd inning, grounded out in the 5th, nailed Alex Guerrero, who singled, tried to leg it into a double, and Marte made a perfect throw to get him. Starling Marte. And ball 1. So you have Starlin Castro in Chicago and Marte in Pittsburgh. One ball, no strikes. That's a strike. Carlos Frias coming back. Hasn't pitched in 2 months. And that's going to be hit towards right field. Coming in a hurry to pick it off is Ethier. Had a little room service to it. The ball started to slice towards Ethier. That made the catch a little bit better. We finally get a report, and we wondered about Mike Bolsinger. Remember the line drive that hit his glove, and then he suddenly realized he hadn't caught it, and then the resultant play. But we wondered, well, if the ball hit him on the gloved hand, why did he have to take time and try to pitch? There was nothing wrong with his right hand. Well, apparently he hurt his left wrist on the play. That line drive bending the gloved hand back. 1 ball and no strikes to count to Andrew McCutchen. And 2-0 to McCutchen, who's on the edge of walking 4 times. Aramis Ramirez on deck. 2-0 to Andrew. Two and one. McCutchen has walked 84 times, 3 times in the series. He has the count 2-1, 3 times today. That's a strike. Randall, Van Slyke, and Peterson due up in the bottom of the 7th. 2-2 to McCutchen. Fastball off the glove of Frias. Coming back is Utley, but he was over on the other side of second base. So McCutchen hits one off the glove of Carlos Frias. We'll expect it to be called a base hit. We'll wait and see. Comebacker off the glove, and it will go as a 2-out single. So McCutchen keeps the inning alive. That's 8 hits now for Pittsburgh. And here comes Aramis Ramirez. Single to left, hit into a double play, and single to left again. Two out, 4-2 Bucks, 7th inning. 0-1. Ramirez always a threat. Got so much power. Aramis is 37 years old. He was signed by the Pirates back in 1994. And a high fly ball to right. Going back on the ball is Ethier, and reaches up and makes the catch right at the bullpen gate. So Ramirez a long out to right. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 6 1/2, nice play by Ethier, 4-2 Pittsburgh.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the 7th-inning stretch presented by
Bottom of the 7th inning. It's 4-2 in favor of the Pirates. They take out the hard-hitting home run hitter, Aramis Ramirez. Josh Harrison will take over at third base. Dodgers trying to come from behind, down 4-2. They've trailed ever since the 4th inning. Yasmani Grandal has struck out and grounded out. Slow breaking ball in for a strike. 0-1. Frias, in coming back, made 25 pitches. 0-1. Garrett Cole on a 1-1 count. Fastball fouled away. Garrett Cole was the first overall pick out of UCLA, big right-hander, and right behind him in the 3rd round from UCLA, Trevor Bauer. Then you had Archie Bradley with Arizona for a 1-2 pitch, 2-2. In the Dodger bullpen, Jim Johnson begins to warm up. Two balls, 2 strikes. 4-2 Bucks in the 7th. So the Bucks have stopped here. They have stopped the Dodgers pretty much all year, trying to beat them 5 out of 6 and 10 of the last 14. Garrett Hughes and Antonio Bastardo begin to warm up. Bastardo, the left-hander, in the Buck bullpen. 0-2. Cole has struck out 9. And a high fly ball. It's playable. McCutchen is calling. So Grandal skies out, 1 away. Dodgers have 1 hit since the 2nd inning. That was the 2-out double by Seager in the 3rd. Dodgers had a triple by Crawford, a single to drive him in the 1st inning. Couple of base hits for a run in the 2nd. Then they had the 2-out double by Seager, and the offense has not been heard from since. Van Slyke has struck out twice. 0-1. Van Slyke followed by Peterson, who a single, stole a base, scored a run, and fouled out. High fly ball into dead center. McCutchen going back, away back at the wall. Leaps up in the air and can't get it. Home run Van Slyke, and it's 4-3 Pirates. Scott Van Slyke hits his 6th home run of the year. Garrett Cole giving up his 10th home run of the year. High fly ball to dead center. Nice try by McCutchen, but that's all. He's 5'10". Got the glove up above the fence, but still couldn't catch it. So now 4-3 in favor of Pittsburgh. And ball 1 to Jock Peterson. Cole has now made 98 pitches. Remember what we told you. When he gets to 101, he can be in a lot of trouble. So that's why they have the bullpen throwing behind him. 2 balls and no strikes. Cervelli out now to talk to Cole. He has allowed 13 home runs this year. He has been on a roll, 1 hit since the 2nd inning. He has struck out 9. He has not walked a batter. And there you can see his pitch count. Now he's just 2 pitches away from a very dangerous area. That's a strike. Two and one. And that's lifted foul off third. Harrison takes a look, but no play. Two balls and 2 strikes. Fastball missed. And another long fly ball to left. Back to the track is Marte to make the catch. So Peterson, long fly ball to left. 2 down. Alex Guerrero playing third base today for Justin Turner. Guerrero single to left to drive in Peterson and grounded to short. Cole wants a new ball. Scott Schebler is out on deck. He would bat for Carlos Frias. Jim Johnson's been throwing in the bullpen. 4 runs, 8 hits for the Pirates. 3 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. Remember, the Pirates are the #1 club in 1-run decisions. The Dodgers are not even close. The Bucks are 33-17 in 1-run games. Dodgers something like 21-24 in 1-run games. Yeah, exactly. 2-0. 2-1 to Alex Guerrero. When the Bucks come up in the 8th inning, Neil Walker, Francisco Cervelli, and Sean Rodriguez. Two and one. Just missed ball 3. Last night, Lenaro retired 16 straight. Today, Cole had retired 11 straight until a home run. Ground ball slowly charged at third by Harrison and makes the play. So the Dodgers get one. Scott Van Slyke gives them a big lift after striking out twice. Van Slyke with one out in the seventh inning hits one high and deep. McCutchen went to the wall, couldn't get it. That narrows the lead, but it's still Pirates 4, Dodgers 3. Marte a home run. That was Pedro Alvarez hitting a home run. And then Scott Van Slyke hits a home run. And we're back to another tough one-run game. Pirates lead 4-3. They won last night 3-2. For the pitcher, Garrett Cole, there's no one throwing in the bullpen now. But for Cole, he has now made 108 pitches. Jim Johnson will pick up, be the fourth Dodger pitcher. So for Cole, up to 108, he doesn't figure to pitch too much longer in the heat. But then again, no action in the pen. Neil Walker's had a tough day, struck out 3 times. Left-hander Tony Watson moving around in the bullpen. Ball 1 to Neil Walker. Fate, trying to figure out life, it's virtually impossible. When you see Neil Walker and you know the story, you think of his father, Tom. And he promptly bangs it into right center. He might go for more than one. Yep. He's on his way for 2, and he has himself a stand-up double. Neil Walker's dad was a teammate and a very good pal of Roberto Clemente. New Year's Eve, Roberto Clemente went to load up the airplane for the Mercy mission to Nicaragua. And Tom Walker went with him. And Tom Walker helped load the plane. And Tom Walker said, Roberto, I want to come with you. I'll help you out. And Roberto said, no, it's New Year's Eve. You go home, spend the time with your family. I'll take the stuff over to Nicaragua. So Tom Walker went home. And Roberto Clemente went to his death. So here's Cervelli. Breaking ball strike. Pirates 4 runs, 9 hits. Dodgers 3 runs, 6 hits. 47,483 here. Giants are leading the Diamondbacks 4-0 in the 8th. 0-1 to Cervelli, who is 1 for 3. He bunted in the 4th inning. Sean Rodriguez, finishing up for Pedro Alvarez, is on deck. 0-1. Full swing foul. 0-2 to Francisco Cervelli. Cervelli from Valencia in Venezuela. From his last name, you know that his father immigrated from Italy to Venezuela. Francisco played in the World Baseball Classic for Italy. 0-2. Ground ball with the ball hit ahead of him. Nowhere for Walker to go. So 1 out, and Sean Rodriguez coming up.
First baseman number 3, Sean Rodriguez.
Dodgers took care of a pretty good hitter in Cervelli. He was hitting 296. Rodriguez 4 home runs, 13 runs batted in. He's the glove man for Pedro Alvarez, the big left-hand batter, who had a home run and a single. 1 out, 8th inning, 4-3 Pittsburgh. J.P. Howell is up a second time in the Dodger bullpen. Ball 1. Johnson is due to lead off for the Dodgers in the bottom of the 8th inning. 1-1 the count to Rodriguez, who was properly jammed on that pitch. Rodriguez 7 for 20 this month. Slider, 1-2 the count. Rodriguez has now been in 128 games. His high about 4 years ago, he was in 131 games with Tampa Bay. 1-2. And the breaking ball takes care of him. 2 out, 8th inning. The Bucks trying not to waste a leadoff double. And the shortstop, Jordy Mercer, coming up. Struck out, grounded out, hit into a force play. Dodgers will have a pinch hitter for Johnson, Crawford, and Utley due up in the bottom of the 8th. Garrett Cole has made 108 pitches, and obviously is going to go back in there. Off speed for a strike. 0-1. Travis Snyder, a left-hand batter, is out on deck to hit for Garrett Cole. Tip-off on Cole. In the first 6 innings, he had 3 3-ball counts. Last inning, he had 3 3-ball counts in the inning. He lost a little something. 0-2 the count to Jordy Mercer. Walker opened up with a double, and he's still out there at second. One and 2. 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Giants are breezing 4-0 up north. Among other things, Buster Posey, a 3-run home run. 1-2. Fastball low. Another 95. It's been Bolsinger, Garcia, Frias, and Johnson. 2-2. Slow breaking ball hit foul. Still 2-2. Way to go, pal, with your New York Mets hat. Yeah. Thunderous silence, waiting for applause. And a shot down to Utley. Plenty of time to throw out the runner. So a leadoff double by Neil Walker is wasted. No runs, a hit, a man left. And we're heading for the bottom of the 8th inning. 4-3 Pittsburgh. Tweet your photo for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Bottom of the 8th inning. It's 4-3 in favor of the Pirates. For Pittsburgh, frustrating for them the fact they had Walker lead off double and never moved him. It brings up the point. The Pirates are only 1-for-9 with runners in scoring position. So they bring in Tony Watson. The left-hander will be facing Justin Ruggiano to open it up. Then Howie Kendrick. And we'll see about Utley. Dodgers top heavy with Crawford, Utley, Seager, Ethier, all left-hand batters. So Tony Watson, who is part of the 1-2 punch for the Bucks. Watson is the left hook. And then Mark Melanson is certainly the right cross. Tony Watson is from Sioux City, Iowa. He's big, 6'4", 215. Came out of the University of Nebraska. And the fastball to Ruggiano, 0-1. The Marlins chose Tony, but he opted to honor his commitment to the University of Nebraska. Turned 30 years old. 0-1. Watson had arm trouble in the past, but it's quite a while ago. He had a torn labrum back in 2003. Elbow tendonitis in 2009. Fastball, slider, and a changeup. Off the plate. Ruggiano has been a tremendous asset, especially against left-hand pitching. Two balls and one strike. Check swing for a strike. Garrett Cole, in his 7 innings, gave up 3 runs, 6 hits, struck out 9, and did not walk a batter. 2-2. Fastball missed inside. So 3-2 to Ruggiano. He is very much, is Watson, very much of a fly ball pitcher. Fastball hit in the air. It's playable. McCutchen is calling. He's the captain out there, 1 away. So it wasn't a surprise that he gives up a fly ball. And we have 1 out in the 8th. Carl Crawford due up, and he will give the bat up to Howie Kendrick.
Hitting for the Dodgers, number 47, Howie Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick returning to the wars last night. And in his first at bat, single to right. Might very well have been a double. Coming back off serious hamstring problems, he was very conservative and stopped at first. Ball 1. In the Dodger bullpen, J.P. Howell and Juan Nicasio. Chase Utley on deck.
Go, Howie!
The 1-0 pitch lifted to straightaway center. McCutchen there, eyes riveted. Boy, that thing was up in the air a long time. So Kendrick a fly ball to center. 2 down in the 8th. And now Chase Utley.
Second baseman, number 26, Chase
Utley struck out, grounded out, flied to center. And as we mentioned, Watson very much of a fly ball pitcher, and he's given up 2 of them. Watson has interesting numbers. When he's at home, his earned run average is 0.69. On the road, it's about 4. Fastball pulled right on the line and exactly where Rodriguez was stationed. So Watson gets 3, and at the end of 8, it's Pittsburgh 4 and the Dodgers 3. Is brought to you by your Southern California Kia dealers. Visit mysocalkia.com to learn more. 4-3 in favor of Pittsburgh in the 9th inning. Justin Ruggiano, who batted in the number 9 slot for Johnson, stays in the game in left field. Howie Kendrick batted for Crawford. So the new pitcher, J.P. Howell, will go in the leadoff spot. For the Bucks, they'll have big Michael Morse as a pinch hitter for Tony Watson. And you would expect Mark Melanson would be brought in to pitch the bottom of the 9th. We'll see. JP in his 60th game. ERA of 1.5. And here's Michael Morse. Off speed for a strike. Morse, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs. Michael, with the Giants last year and was technically with the Dodgers for about an hour and a half. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Morris from Florida, grew up in Jamaica. His mom is Jamaican. He's 6'5" and a good 230. And hits one into right field for a base hit. So the Bucks 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Wasted Walker's leadoff double. Now they get a single by Morse, and the batter will be Polanco. Be sure to keep up with the pennant races, true HD quality, on MLB.TV Premium. You can watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, and more. So be sure to visit MLB.TV today. Jeff Decker is now running for Morse at first base. So Howell gives up the base hit. A leadoff single. They left Walker, who led off with a double in the 8th inning. Decker's short lead held on by Van Slyke. And the bunt in the air over the backstop screen and into the stand. 0-1. When Walker doubled, opened up the 8th inning, they had Cervelli swinging away, and he grounded to third. Then Rodriguez struck out, so they wasted the double. Now, with Decker running for Morse, they have Polanco, who bunted earlier for a base hit back in the 5th inning. Yep, as figured, Mark Melanson begins to warm up in the Pirate bullpen. Polanco 1 for 4. Howell off the bag. Bucks lead 4-3, trying to get another. Ground ball to the right side. The shovel for 1. They will get 2. So for Clint Hurdle, swinging away with leadoff hitters getting aboard, and it's not getting him anywhere. And we have 2 down, top of the 9th inning. Hard ground ball. Utley, the quick feed. Seager gets it over. They turn the DP. Juan Nicasio has been throwing in the Dodger bullpen, and with Starlin Marte, a right-hand hitter, due up. Marte, who homered back in the 3rd inning, they'll go with the percentages and bring in Nicasio. We will be back right after this.
Fans, your attention, please. The pitcher for the Dodgers, number 12, Juan Nicasio.
Polanco. So it made just a couple of pitches, 5. And now it's up to right-hander Juan Nicasio against Starling Marte, the left fielder. Marte grounded to short, homered in the 3rd inning, grounded to short again in the 5th, and last time up flied to right. So Marte is 1 for 4, and Nicasio trying to get him. Giants have added another run. They lead the Diamondbacks 5-0, top of the 9th inning. So the Giants are not going to allow the magic number to be changed, and it's up to the Dodgers, who are down by 1 in the 9th inning. By the way, Seager, Ethier, and Grandal are due up in the 9th inning against the rather phenomenal reliever Mark Melancon. And ball 1 to Marte. On deck, Andrew McCutchen. McCutchen has walked 3 times and singled. 4 runs, 10 hits for the Bucks. That's going to go foul out of play. The Dodgers 3 runs, 6 hits. Pirates are 33-17 in 1-run games. Remarkable. Dodgers are in the red. 21-24. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fouled away again. 1-2 to Marte. 2 out, top of the 9th. Bucks trying to make it 2 out of 3. Trying to make it 5 out of 6. Trying to make it 10 out of 14. I mean, they've just worn out the Dodgers starting last year. One and 2 with a breeze blowing out to right field. And that's going to be hit into left center base hit. Peterson over to come up with it. Marte holding with a single. And so Andrew McCutchen, who has walked 3 times and singled, coming up.
Number 22, Andrew McCutchen.
So in the inning, you had Morse opened up with a single. Decker ran for him. They had Polanco swinging away, and he hit into a double play. Now the base hit by Marte. They left McCutchen at first in the 7th. They left Walker at second base in the 8th. Bucks are 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The throw gets away from Van Slyke, and down to second base goes Marte. So on a pickoff throw by Nicasio, it gets away, and the Bucks now have a runner at second with 2 out, and McCutchen at the plate. It'll be an error charge to Nicasio. Error 1. So for the Dodgers, having a ragged game today, that would be their 3rd error. No, that means they're not going to pitch to McCutchen. So Andrew McCutchen will have walked 4 times today and singled. Josh Harrison, who took over at third base for Aramis Ramirez, will be coming up. Harrison, in last night's game, had a bunt single in the 6th inning and also single to center. There's ball 4. So for Andrew McCutchen, in some ways, he could have phoned it in. 4 walks and a single. And here comes Josh Harrison.
5, Josh Harrison.
Harrison with Neil Walker, the left-hander, on deck. And again, remember, he had that bunt single last night. You can bet the Dodgers remember. So Walker waiting and Harrison checking in. Up north, they're in the 9th inning. The Diamondbacks have scored a run. but the Giants are still leading handily 5-1 with 1 out, 9th inning. One ball and 1 strike. Remember last night, Harrison got that bunt single, went into first base head first, then stood up and pointed to his side of his head as if to say, very smart on my part. 2-1 to count. Foul back, 2-2 the count. So deuce is wild here in the 9th inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, and the Bucks trying to add to a 4-3 lead. Dodgers had a 3-error game in the 2nd game of the season against San Diego. Now they've had 2 3-error games in the last 6 days. All right, 2-2 to Harrison. Fastball missed. So the Bucks get a little bit of an edge with a full count and 2 down. The runners will be going. So Marte from second, McCutchen from first. 3-2 and 2 out. Andrew McCutchen is reminding Marte to look out for Nicasio throwing back to second. Runners go. Little roller. Charging Seager. Picks it up. Throws. And safe. And they now have Marte between third and home. And Marte will be tagged out by Guerrero. Whoa, the Pirates have to be furious. I wouldn't want to be near Clint Hurdle. Marte very easily could be a martyr. So he runs them right out of the inning. And the Dodgers managed to avoid another run. Marte stopped. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe he thought it was the 3rd out, but he ruined the inning for Pittsburgh. Bottom of the 9th, 4-3 Pittsburgh. The ground ball safe at first. Marte acts like it's the 3rd out. Had he been running full tilt, he scores a run. So Starling Marte was startled Marte, and he is run down with Guerrero tagging him out. How important is that play remains to be seen. I remember Andrew McCutchen hollering out to Marte when Marte was at second base, and McCutchen was going through a maneuver to remind Marte, look out for Nicasio turning to throw to second. So when you see one veteran runner reminding another, you have to figure the guy out front is not exactly the best base runner in the game. And for Marte, a huge mistake. I mean, if he is running full tilt, he scores. Instead, he's run down. Dodgers get a break. Now they don't get a break because they have to look at one of the most outstanding relievers in the game. Mark Melancon out of Colorado. Wheat Ridge by way of Golden. Went to the University of Arizona. He is very much of an adventurer. In fact, in his freshman year, he sprained his ankle skydiving. He also wanted to fly an F-16 fighter. He did that. He flew in a blimp. He is one of these kids, very, very inquisitive, and it has really paid off for him. He has 47 saves, and Seager takes a strike, 0-1. Corey Seager struck out, double, grounded out. His double was the only Dodger hit after the third inning until Van Slyke homered. 0-2. Melancon last night came in. He faced Gonzalez, Ethier, and Seager. They all hit little jam jobs, little ground balls to the infield. Melancon setting a Pirate Club record with 47 saves. Ethier's on deck. Seager holds up, and a 1-2 count. How did Melancon get to be such a successful pitcher? Well, he was originally drafted by the Yankees, and he spent a lot of time with Mariano Rivera, and he is so inquisitive. He impressed Rivera. All of his questions about how to be a successful reliever, and like Rivera, he has a cutter. Big overhand pitch foul back. Nicasio weathered the storm, having made 19 pitches. So it's 4-3 Pittsburgh, bottom of the ninth. 4 runs, 12 hits for Pittsburgh, 3 runs, 6 hits, as Nicasio sits quietly in the dugout. 1-2. In the dirt, 2-2. In the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen, who also serves and stands and waits as Seager tries to get aboard. Melancon with his 47 saves, 2 ahead of Trevor Rosenthal of the Cardinals. Ground ball to short, coming back to get it is Mercer. Gets it over to Rodriguez in time. So 1 out in the 9th inning, and the batter Andre Ethier.
Right fielder, number 16, Andre Ethier.
Melancon's earned run average is 1.9 as he faces Ethier, who has singled to center and struck out twice. By the way, Trevor Rosenthal just picked up his 46th save today, so Melancon has him by 1. And ball 1. If you're wondering about late innings dynamite with Melancon, he has allowed 3 home runs. One ball and no strikes. Foul back. Outside of the home run by Van Slyke, you have to go back to the 3rd inning when the Dodgers had a double by Seager. There was one stretch where Garrett Cole retired 11 in a row. Foul tip. Ethier with a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Grandal on deck. Dodgers will dig in for Arizona. The Giants will go to San Diego for 3 and Oakland for 3. 2-2 the count to Andre Ethier. So the Pirates, knowing that the Cubs lost, have a chance to go 2 games up on the Cubs for the home field advantage. 2-2. And ball 3. Marte, McCutchen, and Polanco playing deep and straightaway. They've loaded up the right side. So Mercer, the shortstop, all alone between second and third. Harrison is near second. And a little flare foul. Still 3-2. Bucks trying to win their 89th game and try to finish up having beaten the Dodgers 5 out of 6. They're also pummeling the Western Division. The Bucks are 22-6 against the West. Dodgers would be 500 against the Central if they lose. 3-2. Foul back. Well, this is the time of day where the shadows begin to play parts. Spider web of sunlight and shade out in front of home plate. Mercifully, shade in the grandstands. And down goes Ethier. For Andre, he strikes out 3 times today. Did have a base hit in the first inning to drive in a run.
Catcher number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
So 10 Dodgers have struck out. 2 out in the 9th. And Yasmani Grandal, a batter. Scott Van Slyke on deck. Grandal struck out, grounded out, fly to center, hitting .249. Melanson with that ERA under 2, and the right-hander ready to close up shop if he can. And ball 1. Melanson has struck out 52, and he has walked 14. Two 2-0 to Grandal. Melanson is 6'2", 215-pounder, 30 years old. And ball 3. Three 3-0 the count to Yasmani. Takes a strike. Last home run for Grandal. Remember, he hurt his shoulder in Philadelphia, and his last home run was August 1st. 15 home runs, 45 runs batted in. 2 out, 9th inning, 4-3 Bucks. Ground ball up the middle, going back to get it is Walker, and that will be that. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 8th and 9th. They had the home run in the 7th, and that's as close as they get. So the Bucks continue to give the Dodgers a bad time. They beat them 5 out of 6 during the regular year. They've beaten them 10 times since last year, 10 out of 14. And the Dodgers, with the magic number, well, nothing very magical about it. They disappear instead of the number. For Andrew McCutchen, a long day with 4 walks and a single. The player of the game certainly would be Garrett Cole. Cole went a strong 7, gave up 3 runs, struck out 9, and at one stage retired 11 in a row. So the Dodgers now await Arizona, trying to get well against the Diamondbacks and somebody in their own division. So that'll do it for today. We'll be talking to you tomorrow night. Till then, from all of us to all of you, good afternoon, everybody.